I did really enjoy the show iZombie, but the brain, it just looks like a Jell-O mold or something you'd bring to a Halloween party.
I think we said that last time too.
Yeah, it looks like
this.
It looks like my candle. They do have to make it look like something that she will eat.
Yeah.
She eats the brains. That's the whole thing.
She like does it in like Asian food or like whatever else food she's making.
She puts hot sauce on it, right? It's like her thing.
Yeah. That's like the zombie thing that they always put hot sauce
on break. Classic zombie.
Next time I see somebody using hot sauce at the office, I'm going to be sus.
It's going to be me.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to perform an autopsy?
Ever wanted to know how accurate your favorite crime drama is?
If you're brave enough,
join us inside the morgue. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Inside the Morgue. We are your hosts, Jess and Alice. This week, we're going down the zombie route again and watching iZombie Season 2, Episode 7, titled Abra Cadaver. I love a pun.
I think we picked this episode mainly for that title.
There's not a lot of morgue scenes. We really just wanted to watch it because of the title.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, we need to give a huge shout out to our producer / editor, Dylan at YUNKJunk, for all he does for our podcast. Dylan, where can the people find you if they want to do a podcast?
You can find me by emailing me, dylan@yunkjunk.com. Email me. We'll make a podcast. It'll be really cool. I promise.
Like how cool this one is?
This one's really cool.
So cool.
Pretty freaking cool. All right. So iZombie. We start with our zombie, Liv, and Ravi, who's another pathologist?
Morgue worker? He's like another morgue worker.
All right. Go to a crime scene at a hotel. So a magician is dead.
That's the whole plot of the show.
There's just a magician who's dead with literally a card sticking out of his neck. It's so theatrical and insane. But we want to talk a little bit about what kind of cases get reported and require a scene response. Mm-hmm. So this one obviously is some kind of violent death, traumatic death, anything that isn't immediately natural.
It's at a hotel, so it's not their residence, which also makes it more suspicious than if it was just a home death.
Yeah, it was unattended. Nobody was around. Nobody witnessed what happened. I mean, even if somebody witnessed this event happening, it would be reported because it's a violent death. Mm-hmm. Clearly, he has a blood everywhere and a card sticking out of his neck.
He didn't do it to himself.
Maybe he did. Maybe he's that good of a magician. You don't know.
It's an illusion.
So he's a magician. There is a magician convention happening at the hotel called Presto Fest. I cannot get through this. Presto Fest, and I loved how excited Ravi's character was about magicians. He's such a nerd about it. Honestly, okay, wait, I wanted to tell you about this. So when I was in college, David Blaine came to the school that I went to, and I went to go see him with my friends, and I was literally texting my dad after the show trying to figure out all of the tricks, and like we were going back and forth about like how he did the certain illusionary tricks and kept himself in a tank of water for like 10 minutes and how he did that. And my dad got so concerned that I was going to try to be a magician. He texted me back in all caps, "Do not try any of these tricks." Like he was like, she's going to try this and she's going to
if I know my daughter, she's going to do this.
She's always wanted to be a magician. So I still have that text like screenshot saved. It's from literally like 10 plus years ago. I will post it on my Forensic Alice Instagram account because it's just too funny. So anyway, they're at Presto Fest. And this magician was staying in a hotel room. The maid came for her morning cleaning and found the body. The detective estimates the time of death to be around 12:30 and 1 p.m. And in my opinion, this is a little bit tight.
Yeah, it's more of a longer range of like hours that we estimate time of death.
Well, I feel like we usually try to say, so the way people estimate time of death depends on a few things. It depends on rigor mortis, which is when your muscles stiffen up because your muscles run out of ATP after you die, and it takes a certain amount of time for that to occur and for it to dissipate. So around 8-ish hours is when it starts to really lock in and set up. So if you get to a scene and a body's really, really locked in rigor, you can estimate like maybe 8 to 12 hours they've been dead. And then if you can tell rigor has passed, but the body's not fresh. So say the body's cold, but they're not in rigor anymore. You can tell it's been probably about 24 hours since the body passed or the person passed. And then other things you can do or you can look at is livor mortis or livor mortis, depending on how you pronounce it. And that's the way the blood settles in the body. So say somebody died lying on their back, all of the blood would pool on their back. And that fixes, it starts around what?
Like 4 hours.
4 hours. And then it really fixes around 8 hours, which means when you touch it, when you poke it, it won't blanch, which is like, so around when it's early and starting, you could poke it and there will be a white spot where your finger was. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, it's like I always say, like how you get a bad sunburn, like you play around with your skin.
Yeah. And that's before it sets in. And then once it sets, I'd say that's around 8-ish hours too. And then the other thing is algor mortis, which is the body's temperature. So the body decreases in temperature. I think in the first hour, it's like 2 degrees Celsius. And then every hour after that, it's 1 degree Celsius until it reaches like the environmental temperature. So that's another way you can tell how long a body has been in the area or a person has been dead. So yeah, saying 12:30 to 1 seemed like a little tight of a time range for me.
It's a TV show.
It's a TV show. They do it all the time. So there is a weird smell in the room. And Ravi knows it's not coming from the body because it's too fresh. Green flag.
Green flag for that.
Green flag.
He's so right.
Yeah, the body looks way too fresh to start smelling like that. So he looks in the wastebasket and found a gift basket full of cheese and meats. And at the bottom of the basket, there was a cut up fish. The note says, "Enjoy the decay." So they need to start interviewing the other magicians at this convention because there's apparently some magician on magician beef.
And it was such a welcoming note.
It's like, enjoy the decay. I'm signing off every email. I'm so kidding. Can you? I'm signing off.
So chaotic in our emails right now.
Every text message to you, I'm just going to be like, love you. Enjoy the decay.
Like how our one doctor always signs his text to us.
Yeah, he's so cute. So they take the body back to the morgue and we see the dead magician's body on the table and the throat looks slashed because the trick card that was used to cut him had like sharp metal edges. And it's just dripping blood. So clearly that was cause of death. Their morgue has the classic wall coolers. And of course, this body is in a body bag, which you know is a pet peeve of ours. And I want to take a quick minute to read a YouTube comment that we got on our last video from somebody who has experience with wall coolers. And I've said this in like so many episodes. If anybody has ever seen or used these coolers, I want to hear about it because I've never seen.
Tell me your stories because it's just a myth to me
so
that they exist.
Excuse me while I go on my phone because I have a screenshot of it. So the user's name on YouTube is @obscure&vile. Love it. And they say, "Hi, loved the episode. I'm currently in college pursuing a degree in forensic science and chemistry, but during summer break, I interned at a mortuary and mainly transported decedents." Badass.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Anyways, getting to the point, at the VA hospital near the mortuary, it has those classic horror movie pull-out drawer freezers, but they're actually surprisingly easy to use. This morgue has a drop-down system where the shelf could lower down to the height of the gurney, and all you have to do is slide the body onto the gurney afterwards. It was so simple and much easier than using the stacked shelving unit that we have in other mortuaries. Anyway, absolutely loved the episode, and we'll be tuning in next. I hope you are. Hi.
Awesome. Hi.
So happy this popped up on our recommended page. Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
That's awesome.
Anybody else has experience with these kind of coolers or any other kind of morgue experience that you want to share? Because I've said this before, too. We only have experience in our morgue. I feel like
Other morgues are different.
Other morgues are different.
The setup's different. Like how you work in your environment is different.
Yeah, what we give a red flag might not be a red flag for you. You might do something different. I want to know. Tell us.
Comment. We'll read them.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about doing this podcast is how many other forensic people we've connected with. And like I've learned so much from other people. So please comment.
We want to connect. We want to be friends.
We want to be friends with you guys. So, one thing I will say, I do love that they use the same Mopec bone saw that we use.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
that was really fun.
Green flag for that. Do you think Mopec would sponsor us along with OSHA?
I feel like there's some big companies and we have to work smaller first. But it's a possibility. I'll never say no to that.
OSHA was too big to start with. Got it. Okay. Someone sponsor us.
That's some high hopes. Somebody sponsor us, please. Anybody.
someone who's really into safety and bone saws at the same time. So, unfortunately, we're also going to give a huge red flag for how fake this brain looks. And we said this the last time we watched iZombie. I did really enjoy the show iZombie, but the brain, it just looks like a Jell-O mold or something you'd bring to a Halloween party.
I think we said that last time too.
Yeah, it looks like
this.
It looks like my candle. But I do like, they do have to make it look like something that she will eat. She eats the brains. That's the whole thing.
She like does it in like Asian food or like whatever else food she's making.
She puts hot sauce on it, right? It's like her thing.
Yeah. That's like the zombie thing that they always put hot sauce
on break. Classic zombie.
Next time I see somebody using hot sauce at the office, I'm going to be sus.
It's going to be me. So she goes ahead and proceeds to eat this brain after they weigh it.
The clip that they show of the brain, is it in the bucket to weigh it?
Yeah. So the scales that we use to weigh organs, I'm stealing this from Crime Scene Queens. They said it was very similar to some grocery stores. You weigh like produce.
Yeah, it really is.
That's basically what we use, and that's what we see the brain in the show. And so if you're new to this show or new to our show, in iZombie, when she eats a person's brain, she takes on their personality and kind of gets clues to how they die. So she takes on this crazy magician's personality, and it's so funny.
So moving on, they look at the surveillance video cam footage, the surveillance video at the hotel, and they don't see anything suspicious. And then we cut to Liv in the morgue again, and she's alone, and she has the body out, and she has like candles in the entire morgue lit up, like surrounding the body all around him.
What would you do if you came in one day and I was just in the morgue with candles and tarot cards?
I would walk away. I'm minding my own business. She has tarot cards and like she's doing like a reading on the body basically, and she pulls out the death card.
This is how we do autopsies, guys.
Yeah. If you didn't know, now you know.
You know.
And then the camera pans like around the body, and it looks like he's had his autopsy done, and we see the sutures for the Y incision. And I gotta say, these sutures looked a lot better than Forever's sutures.
Yeah.
They looked more realistic. The coloring looked a lot better, and it was like redder.
Yeah, the body wasn't as gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked this one's a lot better.
Yeah.
Whoever was doing the special effects on this show, A+ for them.
A+.
So I give a green flag for that.
Nice.
And it also looks like they may have sutured the slash on his throat. It was kind of hard to tell in like the really quick pan scene that they had, but
interesting.
I think that's a little inaccurate.
Yeah. So you wouldn't want to suture, or you wouldn't even want to cut through a wound. Especially if it's
evidence.
a homicide. Yeah, because it's evidence. You want measurements of any slash wounds, stab wounds, or like bullet holes. So when you're doing a dissection, you cut around those areas. You do not tamper with it. Because even after the exam, sometimes you have to go back and take measurements again. So yeah, you wouldn't want to do that. Yeah,
we would leave it like exactly how it is. We would do our like suture the Y incision, and then it ships off to the funeral home, and like they would then prepare the body for a viewing or whatever a family wants. Like they would be the ones to kind of make it look like it's not there.
Yeah.
Cover it up in whatever way the funeral, whoever does like forensic artistry at funeral homes, they do such a great job.
Yeah. And once again, that is not our job. We've been asked
People
before.
might think it is.
A lot of people think that's what we do. I don't do that. I don't do embalming. We don't do like the like the makeup on decedents after they've passed. That's a different type of schooling, and I'm so impressed with them.
Yeah, that's and think in another life I would want to do that.
Yeah. I'd be interested in learning more about
Maybe
it.
Maybe this life.
Yeah. Anybody out there,
whoever does that, I want to know more about your job.
Any funeral directors or morticians out there, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you.
I'm so curious.
Yeah.
So the detective and Liv question the magician's assistant, and she tells him that they didn't kill him, but that every other magician despised this guy, and that's because he exposed their secrets and their tricks, and he made a whole YouTube series about it.
Do you think?
This guy was so petty.
We're currently on YouTube. Do you think these shows are going to have a vendetta against us? Like, these girls.
They're going to come for us.
Talking a lot of shit.
But I do got to say, I really do love iZombie's morgue.
Yeah.
They have really good lighting. It's nice and open. Like that's how our morgue is. Our morgue is very like, as soon as you walk in, it's just a big open room with a few tables in there.
Yeah.
That you can see everything. You can, like, everything's super well lit. So yeah, it just kind of reminded me of ours, which I liked.
Yeah. I love a good well-lit morgue.
And then Liv attends one of the magic shows at the convention, and she gets picked to be part of the show as a little volunteer.
Have you ever been part of a magic show?
I've never gone to a magic show.
You're missing out.
Well, you've seen David Blaine, so...
Yeah, you didn't pick me to go up on stage, but I would 1000% be down to be part of a magic show. I feel like I'm Ravi in this scenario. I would be geeking out about
my
magic.
Liv, then?
Maybe. Are you eating the brains?
The hot sauce?
You have the hot sauce in your pocket.
And during, like, when she's being the volunteer in the show, she gets a vision about the dead magician, and it's like the moments before his death and like some moments leading up to the death. And he is arguing with the same girl who the show that they're at now. Her name is Houdina.
And she's in the vision. She's fully in a wedding dress and a veil, and she's throwing a ring.
Oh, and the dead guy's name is Sid, too.
Sid.
We forgot to mention that.
Sid, what's his last name? It's something so emo.
I don't remember.
God.
It was really bad.
It wasn't his real name either. His real name was like Steve something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we also find out that Houdina does card tricks, specifically throwing cards.
Hey.
So Liv pickpockets the deck that she has, and they realize that the cards have the same tempered metal edge that the murder weapon has.
That's another thing we forgot to mention about Liv's powers being a zombie. She also picks up on like skills that the person has. So she's fully just doing magic throughout this whole episode. Like just little sprinkles of just random magic tricks. So
she
good.
like fully embodies the person that the brain that she eats.
Yeah, so this person
It's such a silly show.
Wasn't just a magician, he was also like really obsessed with death. So that's why she's like doing the tarot readings and lighting candles, but then she's also just randomly like pickpocketing,
she's like, hey,
doing card tricks. It's insane. It's so fun though.
And she sees that there are 4 face cards missing, including the Queen of Diamonds, like the one sticking out of the victim's neck wound.
So they confront Houdina, clearly, and she explains her side of things with Sid. And she says she doesn't actually believe he's dead. She thinks it's some kind of stunt. And Liv says, quote, "I performed the autopsy. He is very much dead." But her alibi is airtight, so she says she was performing the time he was killed. I think she says she was performing from like 12:30 to 1:30 in their really, really tight, unrealistic time of death frame. And back at the convention, they interview another magician. And this magician also doesn't believe Sid is dead.
Everyone thinks it's a trick.
Yeah, and Liv is just so fed up at this point. She's like, I fully removed his brain from his body. And she also ate it. She doesn't say that to this guy, though. Can you imagine? She's just like, and I
ate his brain.
I ate his brain. He's dead. So yeah, she just does not care at this point. So she gets another vision and sees that this magician that they're interrogating had beef with Sid, too. Turns out he was the one who left the dead fish in the room as a, quote, prank. Ravi finds some threatening messages on Twitter between Sid and other magicians, so they go to question a magician duo. And it's
like a spoof on Penn and Teller.
Yes, that's what their names were. I couldn't remember. It's literally a rip-off of Penn and Teller. And we're going to give a red flag for Liv, though, because she's going along and questioning these people, but she's not.
She shouldn't be going there.
She's
I don't even know if she's a full like medical examiner or just a medical like assistant.
So we watched the first episode. I forget what episode number it is that we covered, but it's on Spotify. And
I think it was the pilot.
Well, no, I mean like our episode number.
Oh.
Yeah, we did do the pilot, and she was a med student, right? Was she a med student or was she a resident?
She was a resident.
Okay, so then I think she's a medical examiner or pathologist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think she is. But of course,
so, like, she shouldn't go question people.
No, either way, she shouldn't. This is not her job.
They all do it.
Yeah. This is another freaking trope of a person who is aspiring to be something else, and then something weird happens to them, and now they have to work in a morgue.
It's their second
She
choice.
wanted to be a surgeon, but then she became a zombie. And so she's
has
like,
to work in a morgue.
We're in a morgue because I want brains. Classic. So
she's like, hey, what's the easiest way to get brains? Oh, the morgue.
Literally, that's the pilot. Still go listen to our episode where we talk about it, but that basically sums it up. The only person they know for sure who went into the hotel room was the maid. And the maid's whereabouts are unknown, according to the hotel staff. So she's looking a little suspicious. And like we said, the staff can't find her, but they're in like an office or something interviewing one of the other hotel workers, and Liv notices handwriting on the board that looks like the handwriting on one of the magician duo's board, because he's mute, so he's always writing on a board. So she seems to have figured out what happened. The maid was the second person in disguise in the duo and I remember when I first saw them on the screen when they first went to interview them, I was like, this person is really wearing a wig and a mustache. I don't know why, but
I thought it was like part of the act. I didn't think anything of it.
I was like, okay, that's a weird act, but it's the maid in disguise. So they literally full on Scooby-Doo take off the wig and mustache of this person, and they're like, it was you, kids. Yeah, they're literally in the middle of like a crazy magic show act where they're about to drop an anvil on this person. I kind of wanted to see how they did it, but we don't get to see because they get arrested. And the other magician in the duo was in on it too. So they do a big reveal of how they killed him. How did they kill him again?
They slashed his throat with the card.
With the card, just to frame the Houdina lady.
I think that really wasn't explained.
Yeah, so it was the maid snuck in the room because she worked there, so it wasn't suspicious to see her on security cameras, like sneaking into the room.
I think they were just all fed up with him exposing everyone's secrets.
Yes, he liked to expose people's secrets. I remember what the other guy had to do with it. The other guy didn't kill him, but he made sure one of the other magicians who left the decaying fish for him didn't have a secure alibi because he paid a woman to go seduce him.
Yes,
in the men's room where there was no cameras, so that they were in on it together. But the maid / magician person was the one who actually did the deed. So, full on Scooby-Doo moment.
This is such a silly show.
Love it, though.
But it's so entertaining.
You just need like a stupid, silly show to watch.
So obviously with all of the talk in this episode about magicians and illusionists, we thought it would just be fitting and interesting to talk about the crazy life and somewhat mysterious death of Harry Houdini.
Like Houdina? Oh my God. I'm such a big fan of hers.
So Harry Houdini was born by the name of Eric Weitz in Budapest, Hungary on March 24th, 1874. He immigrated to the U.S. in 1878 and started a career in stunt work at the age of 9 with trapeze work.
Imagine starting your career at the age of 9.
I feel like kids who want to like be in the circus, like that's what they do. They just like run off to the circus and be like, I'm here now.
It was also the 19th century, so they're probably
that's what they do.
Hey, your younger sibling started working at the age of 7. What are you doing? Get into...
It's the 1800s. You're going to go work in the circus.
I know.
So he began his career in magic in 1891, and it was then that he changed his name to Harry Houdini in honor of a famous French magician named Eugene Robert Houdini. Harry Houdini became famed for his impressive escape work from handcuffs to his famous Chinese water torture cell, which is where he lowered himself down into a locked tank of water and he would escape in 2 minutes.
So the David Blaine show that I saw, he didn't do this, but he did submerge himself in a tank. This is so funny to talk about now. He opened his show, didn't say a word. He walks out on stage and there's a giant tank of water. He gets in the tank of water and stays in there for 10 minutes. So like this huge auditorium of people is just staring at this man
for 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes in a tank of water.
That's really awkward.
We're all like, oh my God, when is he going to come out? Imagine if that was the whole show. Like an hour.
He gets out and he leaves.
He's like, all right, peace. Bye. I did it. You're welcome.
So, however, on top of being a performer, Houdini was an engineer at his core, and he believed, and he never claimed that his tricks on stage were magic. He claimed them to be illusions. Mm-hmm. He had his own equipment and suits to make his tricks look like magic, but he never claimed that they were.
Yeah, he was never selling it as he had some kind of powers or anything. He's like, no, I'm just really good at sleight of
I'm
hand.
just so good at my job.
I'm just so good at my job. He's just really good at sleight of hand and engineering things to look like how they weren't. Yeah.
They were accomplishments of engineering, and for that reason, it's that Houdini had a problem with the religious movement known as spiritualism. This religion was based on the belief that it was possible to communicate with the dead. It peaked in popularity around the 1920s, and after World War I had killed 16 million people globally, and the Spanish flu pandemic killed like 50 million lives in 1918. Everyone was looking for an answer after trauma they experienced from these events, and they were looking for a way to communicate with their lost loved ones. And in this movement, there were people proclaiming to be mediums, and they claimed that they had the ability to communicate with the deceased.
Yeah, and so many of these mediums would use illusionary tricks, not that different from what Houdini used. And Houdini couldn't stand it because they weren't being upfront and honest about that they were actually illusions. They were profiting off of people's grief and how they were trying to find answers and figure out what happened to their loved one. So over several decades, Houdini literally made it his mission to expose these people as con artists. I kind of love that for him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He had a vendetta against them.
Which is similar in the show. Sid was exposing people's tricks. And one example of this is he attended 2 seances with a Boston medium named Mina Carden, known by her following as Marjorie, who claimed that she could communicate with her dead brother, Walter. Crandon, or did I say Carden? I think it's Carden. Carden was up to win $2,500 if she could prove to a committee of scientists that she was a legitimate medium. Houdini attended these seances and was able to prove that it was a sham. He was even able to replicate her performance that she claimed was real using distractions and contraptions like she did. And clearly her followers were not happy with this. And by August of 1926, she did a seance with her alleged ghost brother named Walter. And Walter said, Houdini will be gone by Halloween. And the weird part is, he was. Houdini died October 31st of that year, 1926. A gasp. I know. Honestly,
that is really crazy.
That's really weird. And he was 52 years old at the time, and he seemed to be at the top of his game. And after a performance on October 11th, 1926, he gave a lecture at McGill University. And after this lecture, he met someone named Samuel J. Smilovich, who had made a sketch of Houdini. Houdini was so impressed with the drawing that he invited this person to a theater where he was performing on October 22nd of that year to do a portrait for him. Smilovich went with his friends Jack Price and Jocelyn Gordon Whitehead. And while Smilovich was sketching, Whitehead chatted with Houdini and asked him if it was true that he could withstand the mightiest punch in the stomach. Houdini said that he could withstand a lot, at which point Whitehead struck Houdini at least 4 times in his abdomen until Houdini gestured for him to stop. So just like out of the blue, like Houdini was still getting his like portrait done. And this dude was just like, oh, you can?
He's like, hey, you want to punch me?
Yeah. And no, Houdini didn't even invite it. The guy's like, oh, can you really withstand the hardest punch? He's like, yeah, I guess. And the dude's like, really? And like just sucker punched him.
He just hated this guy.
Yeah. So Jack Price, who was there and witnessed this, said that it seemed like Houdini was in extreme pain. Houdini said he wasn't prepared for Whitehead to strike so suddenly, or he would have like braced himself how he usually does in his performances. So Houdini was still in extreme pain the next evening and contacted a doctor to examine him. He was diagnosed with acute appendicitis and told to go to the hospital immediately. But Houdini had a show in Detroit that had already sold $15,000 worth of tickets. So he ignored his doctor's wordings and carried on with the show, saying, quote, I'll do this show if it's my last.
Can't disappoint the people.
Apparently not. He was really into his showmanship. So he continued on with the show despite having a fever of 104, which is so alarming.
That's so high.
He used ice packs between his first and second act to try and like regulate himself. Didn't end up working, so he canceled the third act, but still refused to go to the hospital until his wife forced him.
That sounds like something a wife would do.
Yeah. And on October 25th, 1926, doctors removed his appendix, but it was already ruptured. And because of his delayed treatment, his stomach was also inflamed with peritonitis. Infection spread quickly. And remember, this is 1926, so antibiotics
did not exist.
Not a thing. And Houdini's bowels became paralyzed and more surgery was necessary. He seemed to recover after this, but relapsed really quickly. And on Halloween 1926, as was predicted by Walter, he passed away with his wife Bess by his bedside.
So Bess and Houdini had a pact that whoever died first would try to communicate with the other from the afterlife to prove once and for all if spiritualism was a sham or not. And every Halloween night for the next 10 years, Bess would perform seances for numerous mediums, but she never got a response.
This makes me want to cry.
I know, it's heartbreaking. 10 years.
10 years.
10 years of hope.
Yeah.
And her final seance, she said, quote, "My last hope is gone. I do not believe that Houdini can come back to me or to anyone. After faithfully following through the Houdini 10-year pact, after using every type of medium and seance, it is now my personal and positive belief that spirit communication in any form is impossible. I do not believe that ghosts or spirits exist. The Houdini shrine has burned for 10 years. I now reverently turn out the light. It is finished. Good night, Harry." Oh,
I know.
I'm crying on the inside.
The fact that she kept the pact, though,
for 10
and
years.
still did it for 10 years.
That's dedication. That's true love.
Yeah, that's love.
However, this hasn't stopped others from trying to contact Houdini from beyond the grave. Every Halloween, many will gather in hopes of being the ones to be able to communicate with the famed illusionist. And there are many conspiracy theories surrounding Houdini's death, from spiritualists believing that saying that Walter, the ghost prediction of Houdini demise, being correct proves that the communication from beyond the grave exists, to people claiming that spiritualists must have killed Houdini for revenge. However, the answers that we have right now seem pretty mundane. He passed from complications of acute appendicitis, which may or may not have been exacerbated by the guy punching him in the abdomen.
Sure, it didn't help,
but there is no link to those two events having anything to do with the other.
Mm-hmm.
And we got all of this information from an All That's Interesting article. allthat'sinteresting.com article titled "Harry Houdini Escaped from the Belly of a Whale But Couldn't Escape Death" by John Williams and edited by
Joseph
Williams and edited by John Kurowski. And we'll link that in our show notes if you want to learn more.
That is one trick that we didn't cover that Harry Houdini was famous for. He escaped from the belly of a whale, which I don't know enough about, but I need to know more.
I think that after we finish this recording, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole of Harry Houdini tricks.
A full episode on Harry Houdini and the weird shit that he did.
I'm going to become a magician.
Is this turning into a magic podcast? We're going to have a live episode and like tell people to pick a card, any card.
Is this your card?
Nope. Damn it. You know, there is an episode of Bob's Burgers where they find out that Bob is really into magicians. There's like a magician convention in town. He has like a whole deal.
I love that one.
And the magician's just trolling him the whole time. That would be me. That would be me. So to end this episode, we tallied a total of 3 green flags and 2 red flags. So this episode actually does pass, I guess, in our terms.
Somewhat.
We might have missed a few red flags, but let us know if you thought we did. Thanks for listening to this episode of Inside the Morgue, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Inside the Morgue Pod. And we've also gotten some new listeners and followers, viewers, thanks to YUNKJunk's YouTube page. So if you're new here, welcome Inside the Morgue.
Hi, guys.
We're so happy to have you. If you want to go back and listen to some of our older stuff before we joined YUNKJunk, you can head over to Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Sorry, there's no videos. We were an audio-only podcast before joining YUNKJunk. We'll be back next time with a brand new dissection.
Bye.
Bye.
YUNKJunk!